Now let's come to our next panelist, and Vijayji. So I think you are ready, and please help us understand this complexity of the regulatory compliance.
Yeah. Thank you, Kuldeep ji, for giving me an opportunity. And I would also like to thank all the panelists which have clearly set context for me. So Arjit has said we should not take the challenges, we should take the positive things from the regulatory side. So I would like to just start that I am working with Danone. So our motto is One Planet, One Health, because our 90% of the portfolio worldwide, even locally, is health-driven portfolio, and we basically deal with the specialized nutrition products. So just go to the next slide. I will give you the local context as well as some global context on regulatory part. So as you know, this is multidisciplinary regulations here. It is controlled by different ministries. So Ministry of Health is also the major stakeholder while regulating these regulations. So FSSAI comes under the preview of the Ministry of Health, and there are other regulations which also controls the food and ensure the quality and safety of the food. Is Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, and the Bureau of Indian Standards comes under this ministry, and also the legal metrology part also comes in this ministry. And third one is this is Act, which is Infant Milk Substitute Act, which regulates and production and supplies of infant milk substitutes, which comes under Ministry of Women and Child Development. And so I would just start from the opportunities rather than going to the challenges. So I will cover the challenges later on. As the previous speakers has rightly said, we have a big opportunity to develop the new products. Mostly I would say 90% of the nutritious products portfolio comes from the dairy. I would say either they are using the dairy ingredients like skim milk powder, whole milk powder, and other things. So in India, there is a opportunity to develop these products. I think as on today, we don't see any major challenges in developing these products. Why? Because the standardized food categories are evolved over a period of time, and now we have rationalized and we have harmonized these categories from the global standard, from either it is from Codex or European standards. So I would say they will give you the brief on the milk and milk product categories, which covers the yogurts, which cover the milk powders, which covers the dairy-based drinks. So it is mostly 99%, I would say, it is aligned with the Codex standards. So now we have a lot of opportunities, a lot of other ingredients, functional ingredients, prebiotics, probiotics are allowed in these categories. And another second big umbrella is with us, which is the proprietary food definition, which covers all type of food, the foods where it is not defined anywhere. You can formulate any food by mixing of different ingredients, whether it is a skim milk powder or whole milk powder or sugar or fats, and which are defined in the FSSR regulation. You can pick any ingredient, you can pick any functional ingredient from this category, and you can make your proprietary food. Only restriction is you have to use the specialized, only the food additives restrictions are there. So you can only use these food additives. However, now the food additives regulation has also standardized and harmonized with the Codex. So there are a lot of new additives which were not allowed earlier. Now it is permitted. So it's a big opportunity to the R&D or the dairy product developers to use this opportunity. And the third one is, as you may be aware, there's a big category of nutraceuticals and health supplements, food for special dietary uses, and FSMP products, which is recently, last 2 years back, it is implemented, and there are a huge opportunity to develop these products. Even the opportunity that you can pick up a few ingredients or nutrients from the FSDU or FSMP and these schedules, and you can use in even this proprietary food category. So this is a big development I see, which also cover the botanicals, herbs, and other things as well. In the prebiotics are also defined in this regulation. Probiotics is also defined, so you can use these prebiotics and probiotics as well. And last but not the least, is A2 milk is the new scenario in India. So as of now, I don't have any specific regulation for that, but I can say this A2 milk is being developed, A2 milk being marketed in India, and FSSAI has come out. They are working on that, on the beneficial effect of that. That I will cover in the next slide. So as you can see here, so A2 milk is no definition, no standard for A2 milk. However, they are beneficial effect. So the scientific community knows it, but FSSAI has given the one FAQs which say in lack of scientific clinical data or substantiation, we can't say on the beneficial effect of the A2 milk. But I think from a technical point of view, it's a good thing that we are evolving that things and we are launching these type of products in India. Next slide, please. Yeah, so these are the challenges, as everybody knows, in India, even in the abroad. So considering the healthy choices and the eat right movement, India has also come up with the new draft regulation on the display and packaging labeling regulations. So one of the most challenging part was we need to give all the negative nutrient on the front of pack, like that is fat, saturated fat, sugars, and the energy contents of the product. And they have also defined these values for that. If it is exceeding that, so your product will become the red. So you need to give a red logo on the front of pack. So one of the most critical things which I could see industry is facing, that they have defined the energy requirement, which is 10% of the calories, not more than 10% of energy is coming from the sugar. However, if we will go through the WHO recommendation, it is 50 grams. That is 10% of daily calorie of 2000 kilocalorie. So stringent threshold they have made for saturated fat, sodium, salts, and this energy. So which is very challenging, and I don't think we would be able to meet these requirements once it is implemented. So everything we have done the study, industry has come together along with the other partners as well. So 90% of the products in the market which you see today will become red. So that means it is not good for the consumer. Even your product is having milk fat, your product is made from the milk product, it will become red because of the unscientific, unrational these values, which is not advisable. Industry have a lot of discussion, understanding often, and we have proposed some new things which I will cover in next, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. So the industry proposal was to we will go through this in structured framework, and so this is especially for the Eat Right movement. So we want to empower all the consumer, and so reformulation initiatives is required based on the reduction of sodium, sugar, salt. So these are the phased manner. Industry wants to keep these in phased manner, and we don't want to hide anything. We want to enhance consumer awareness as well. So consumer can pick any product, is the consumer choice, but in the phased manner. We are not yet ready to implement this. So we industry as a we proposed to submit our data which is already available in the market. So FSSAI has agreed our request, and they have appointed one agency who is working on to pick up the data. They are coordinating with our industry members. So based on once they will submit the data, so FSSAI scientific panel and scientific authority will go through it, and they will come out something which would be industry friendly, and they will allow us to use these approach in phased manner. Next slide, please. So this was from the formulation point of view, few labeling requirements which is very difficult to implement considering the new labeling and display regulation. So one of the most challenging part is the nutrient tolerances. So they have after a lot of deliberation, lot of representation, now they have considered -10% of the total value of nutrient which you are declared on your label, which is also not practical possible, or I would say it's not a feasible thing, because if you whenever you reformulate, when you formulate the product, so there might be some losses during shelf life, during stability, during analytical variation. So it is, I think, very impractical things, and we have given a lot of examples of European regulation guidelines, which allows 30 to 40% of nutrient tolerances. Sometimes it depends upon your nutrient requirements. And we have also given the example of Codex standard. So nowhere it is defined it is -10%. So this is really non-achievable, and industry is against that, and we have given our proposal. But I don't think that there might be some positive things, because after lot of deliberations, this is coming again and again. And this has already discussed in last food authority meeting, which is, I think, not good things for industry. And this is challenging to all of the, whether it is nutrition product or it is dairy products, it is challenging thing. So next slide, please. One more thing which would also harm us, all the industry. Earlier it was mandatory to mention the best before date. Now the new regulation also required to mandate mention the expiry date as well, which is not a global practice anywhere. Sometimes they have an opportunity, either you mention the best before date or expiry date, but in after implementation of this regulation, we would be bound to give the best before along with the expiry date, which is a huge loss for the country, as well as it is a counterproductive thing, which will also result. Yeah. So I will not take more of your time. This is the last slide. So one more thing is also they have given some revised heights of letters and numerals, which is extremely challenging. As per existing practice, the text matter height is 1 mm almost for all the packs. Now they have increased it to 2 mm, which is not practically possible for the small packs like dahi or yogurt or small packages. So we have also submitted our proposal to that, and I think the FSSAI is considering that part as well. This is, I think, last one. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vijayji. It was really a very good presentation, and as I see that whatever is there at the back of your mind, it has to actually funnel down through that narrow end of that regulatory. So you have shared, you have inspired all of us and motivated us from the context of that at regulatory, people like you, Dr. Murli, and all my other friends from R&D and industry, Dr. Prajapati. So you have made, the complete act and regulation. You have made it ready, to take up the current kind of inputs, current type of processes, current time, the contemporary kind of ways of developing the products. So now, as per you, what I understand that you know, under this standardized product category, there is no issue. And as far as proprietary is also concerned, so whole list of, I think that was the best thing which occurred in the times of Pawan Agarwalji, when, you know, that 15,000 kind of additives in one go were cleared. And I think I was just going through the chat also, and a few of my friends were talking about this dairy alternatives, that they should not use the term milk and all that. I would just take only I'll take 1 minute, you know, just to share that under the leadership of Dr. Prajapati, when he was there as a chairperson with the FSSAI scientific panel of dairy, and with the support from Dr. Murli and other friends. So we raised this issue of analog, and finally, you know, that particular thing has gone to ministry for final approval. So no product, you know, which is not matching, which doesn't have, you know, the origin of fat, SNF and carbohydrates from the milk source. So there is no kind of replacement. So no product will be able to use the generic name of milk products which have been mentioned under, let's say, chapter 2.2, 2.1, you know, for under the dairy category. And there is going to be, to take care of, you know, that for consumer perspective. So a logo has been identified, it has been developed. And very shortly, like vegetarian and non-vegetarian logo, there will be a pure dairy product logo also, which will be at voluntarily level, the pure dairy milk product manufacturers can use.